Will they say all good things must come to an end? The Houston Astros exited the playoffs earlier than they have in 8 years. We're going to talk about this and maybe look ahead a little bit and talk about also some other series going on. Let's start right now.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, man, I ain't talking expense. Strike one, heat a low in the way, you can't hit it. You know you want to start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike two, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike three, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch it first. Tell me how they gonna drive you home. Walking back, looking like we ain't cool then. The game's over, might as well put them back to the bullpen, oh yeah.
What is up, everybody, and welcome to Back to the Bullpen. I'm H-Town Wellhouse, and you know where to find the show. Instagram, on YouTube, on iHeartRadio, pretty much anywhere you get your podcast. You know where to find me at H-Town Wellhouse, pretty much any social media medium. Mike, welcome back. What a day. I want to talk about it, but I don't. Tell everybody where they can find you before we get started.
Yeah, I'm not the social media darling that you are. There's only one place you can find me, and that's on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Mike Stanton29.
That's right. The old 2-9er, as they
That's
say
it.
in New York. But hey, so the Astros, well, the Tigers, AJ Hinch, an unproven group went out. And they simply did, really, for I think a lot of people, the unthinkable. I don't think anybody expected the Astros to go out like this. They lose a 7th straight home game in the playoffs. Give me your initial thoughts on the day.
Well, at first, you have to tip your cap and say congratulations to AJ Hinch and the Tigers. They outplayed the Astros. Okay.
100%.
We talked about this, that the 3-game series is only this much better than the 1-game playoff, that you can have a bad, 24 or 36 hours and you can be on vacation. Your off season has started, and that's what's happened to the Astros. And, this was, you knew that yesterday was going to be tough with Tarek Skubal, that he was going to be very good, and he was. Fromber gives up 3 2-out singles to give up 3 runs, and that was all for that ball game.
Yeah.
The Astros offense just couldn't muster anything today against a very good Tigers pitching staff. And we know for a fact that bullpenning works. Okay, we've seen many teams we've seen the Astros have done it. They don't just usually do it the second game of the playoffs. When you run 6 or 7 guys out there, and where is the best stuff? The best stuff on a pitching staff is in the bullpen.
Right.
That's where the best velocity is. That's where the best spin rate is. The guys don't have to try and go multiple innings. You can go out there and air it out like you do as a short reliever. And talk to any hitter. Hitters hate bullpen days. Hate them. Okay, they can't stand facing 4 relievers instead of facing a starter, 2, maybe 3 times.
Right.
Once you get behind, Hunter Brown was so good today. Just gave up the
Unreal.
one-head home run to Meadows, which hit the foul pole down the right field line. But the Astros just seemed like they were on their heels. They were playing from behind. Anytime a team doesn't hit, you don't feel like there is urgency, which I think it's probably the opposite, that they felt too much urgency because, you lose yesterday's game, you go, okay, you faced probably the unanimous American League Cy Young Award winner in Skubal. Okay, but you have to win today. They really needed to score early, and they just weren't able to scratch a run across, even if it was just 1 run in the first couple innings. That would have helped the rest of the lineup. That would have helped the lineup just kind of relax. But you saw guys kind of grinding it out a little bit too hard. They just weren't able to get the offense that they needed.
Yeah, so the Astros only struck out 5 times.
Yeah.
But the strikeouts, Mike, were, I think almost all of them were looking. It was weird. And there was a pitch that Kyle Tucker swung at in his at bat where he struck out. And then the next pitch, so there was a ball. So this was I believe it was inside. The next ball was outside.
Mm-hmm.
Next ball was inside on him, and he didn't swing at it. Like, he swung at the first one. Actually, I had it flipped. It was 2 outside pitches. The second outside pitch was in the same location, and he watched it. That probably is a case where you're looking for something different. But you're right. AJ Hinch did a masterful job.
He did.
Managing this team. You have a team, Mike, that has no high dollar free agents, that has no massive contract guys. You don't have the Miguel Cabreras anymore. You've got all these guys, a pitching staff that's literally controlled up until 2026 at the earliest is when someone can be, re-sign a contract. They're all young.
Right.
They are. I mean, you just look at their lineup, okay? Meadows, Carpenter, okay. Vierling, you know him. Green, but Keith, McKinstry, who's become better, Sweeney, Rogers. It's not necessarily who's who, but the relievers, like you said today, Holton, Hanfrey, Herter, Brisky, Joby, Gunther, Vest. This kid is shoving right now. Yeah. Will Vest is a righty that if I was an opposing hitter, I'm like, crap, they're bringing in Will Vest. It must mean they're doing well. So,
yeah. And listen, AJ, I really wasn't expecting them to do a full-on bullpen day. I thought they would go with him a little bit longer. But AJ did exactly, it happened exactly the way AJ wanted it to. And, the Astros had the one inning that was my goodness, that was an ugly inning to score 2 runs. But, the back end of the bullpen wasn't able to get it done. Bottom line is you didn't score enough runs. I mean, that's, the Astros winning percentage when scoring 3 runs or fewer was minute, was crazy low. But it is all the way across the league. Whereas you turn it over and you score 4 runs, now they're well over 500. And that's what, so that was the number that they needed. You score 4 runs, you win, but they just weren't able to muster it.
When you got the 2 runs, when they went ahead 2-1, that's an inning. You had bases loaded with no outs. And you only scored 2 of those runs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look, Mauricio Dubon, I thought was a genius move by Joe Espada. He came in and he got 2 hits. He came in to hit for Jason Hayward, 0 for 1. Then Dubon comes in and goes 2 for 3.
Yeah.
I mean, he comes in and does his job. When Singleton gets up with bases loaded, you're like, all right, this is the moment. I mean, this is baseball. Singleton is going to hit a grand slam. It's going to be great. I'm in the upper deck. That ball that was hit by Meadows, it wasn't too far to the left from where I was sitting in the second deck out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what am I going to do if I catch a Tiger home run? I guess I'm going to have to throw it back. But it was so frustrating because, Mike, today the ball was flying off the bat. They were getting better contact, but they were hitting right to their fielders. The ball wasn't dropping. The ball wasn't sailing.
It's one of the frustrating things about the sport, that you can do everything right, square up the ball, and you get no results. And it does seem like when you're winning baseball games and things are going your way, that those fall in. There was late in the game, Bregman hit a ball right dead on the screws to the left fielder, straight to the left fielder. I mean, 100%. It was just, he did everything right. He beat the pitcher by hitting the ball so hard. But there was a dude standing there, and that's what you have to put up with. This Tigers team, talk about their youth. I think it was Vierling was the only player that had any playoff experience whatsoever. Yeah. That's crazy.
He was on the Phillies. He was the guy that the ball was hit over when Jordan hit the the game-winning home run in Game 6 of the World Series 22.
Now, I will say this. You look at the 2 managers. We keep saying how good AJ did today, how well he did running that pitching staff, and he did. I don't really think he out-managed Joe Espada. I just think that the moves that were made just didn't work out, and the Astros couldn't get the hit. So, they had it set up. The Astros took the lead today 2-1,
Yeah.
and then you went to your big leverage guys, and it's unfortunate, because Presley had been so good in the playoffs going into, I think, over 22 straight scoreless innings in the playoffs.
Oh, wow.
And I heard Michael Kay say that, and I'm like, you sucker. You better not have just jinxed him. Well, he kind of did. And then Hader had an issue following up, giving up the big bases clearing double. But the bottom line is, yes, you can look at the bullpen. You can say, okay, the guys didn't do their job. That's all true. I mean, you can't. That's just factual. But the Astros simply just did not give this pitching staff enough runs to win these baseball games.
No, they didn't. And they didn't give the Tigers enough to worry about either. I mean, it was almost like it was almost too easy for the Tigers to win this, because outside of those 2 runs, I mean, they had the lead in 1/2 inning of these 2 games.
So they did not lead for 1 full inning.
Yeah,
they did not.
No, they didn't. They didn't they got the lead and they lost it. And it was a colossal collapse. I was sitting there watching, and Jason Hayward earlier, before he got pulled, he had 3 hits down the right field line that by inches were like, oh my
God. And that's the luck side of it that I was just talking about, that Bregman hits the ball right dead on the screws late in the game, goes straight to the left fielder. Meadows hits the home run, it hits the foul pole. That ball is 3 or 4 inches to the right. That's a foul ball, and who knows what happens there, because Hunter Brown was still dealing at that time. And to his credit, after the home run, he came back and dealt after that. He threw the ball as well today as we've seen him do that whole second half. Just an incredible tale of, we'll call it 2 seasons, but it's the first 7 starts. After those first 7 starts, this dude was as good as anybody in the game.
No, yeah, exactly. And, to go back to that, I looked at the game day app, and the pitch that he threw Parker Meadows was in the most deep blue zone in the strike zone, meaning it's not a place where he hits the ball well.
Right.
And it was in the upper inside corner, and he just simply pulled the hands in and swung the bat.
He hit it. He hit it well.
Oh no, yeah, trust me.
He hit it well.
That, I was like, yeah, that's not staying in the park.
Yeah, I mean, you were just hoping for a little bit of breeze, but no, it didn't happen. You're in a roofed stadium.
So look, I don't know. It's tough. Last year's Game 7 ALC loss was tough. I was there. I was in the ALCS Game 5. Just the highs and the lows. But to walk away getting, I guess, swept, because there's no other word for it, because it's only 2 out of 3.
Right.
But to lose both games to Detroit, being who they are and how hot they were, I didn't feel as bad or as crushed as I did because the Rangers just bludgeoned the Astros last year. I mean, those last 2 games, the Astros didn't even have a chance. And today you're like, well, I knew it wasn't going to be a bloodbath run-wise, but you're just like, they earned that, because I looked at my friend Corbin. I said, the Astros don't deserve to win this game. Like, if they come back and win it, it will be pure luck. But I just don't see them coming back in the 9th inning and winning, because you don't lose a lead like that immediately and then recover.
Well, one thing we have to make sure is that we don't let this loss take away from, I think, probably the most special divisional title they've had in this run.
Okay?
And the reason I say that is because of all the issues that they've had this year. Being 12 games under 500 twice, all the issues they've had in the pitching staff, losing 60% of their rotation in like a day and a half. All the young guys that came up, all the different players that contributed to this team. You got to remember, first base was Jose Abreu at the beginning of the season. Josh Hader, you go back to the beginning of spring training, Josh Hader wasn't an Astro, and he had a very good season. It's just, it's just crazy to look at all the trials and tribulations this team went through to win this divisional title. And I think that, it's a little raw right now. It's a little exposed. Everybody's a little emotional. That's all to be expected. But I think at some point we have to be able to take a step back, look at the big picture, and realize that this really was a very special year for
Yeah.
the Astros, just simply because it wasn't easy, because they didn't run away. They had to work hard. They had to do things that they hadn't had to do in the last, 5 or 6 years. So, special year. Unfortunately, it did end a little bit early for the Astros, much earlier than we all expected.
Now, with this season going the way it went, I mean, it's over. The books are closed on it, so everything is hindsight. And it didn't shift anything with the game, but what did you think about Espada using Hader the first day up by 3? Is the thought process you're trying not to give up any more runs, so you keep it a three-run ball game? Is that the philosophy behind that move? Or
I think it was a little different situation.
Okay.
Josh Hader is a little bit more of an old school type pitcher. And I think with that complex delivery, how, he picks his leg up and he turns back towards second base, and then he comes back I think that mechanics can be a little bit of an issue for Josh Hader. And I think he's a guy that throws the ball better, more consistently when he is working more. Okay. And so I think that was a situation that, yes, you're trying to hold the game right where it is. You want to give your offense as many chances to score runs and have to score the fewest amount of runs possible to get back in the baseball game. But I also think that was one of those things that Josh Hader prefers to be in the game, prefers to work.
Yeah.
And so I think that had as much to do with it as anything else. And we've already seen Josh Hader, pitch back-to-back, pitch several days in a row. I think that's not really a big deal for Josh.
Right, exactly. And also, one of the things about today, I was discussing with my friend at the game, and this was before they brought out Presley. We were like, why don't you bring in Hader here in the 8th to be your guy and let Presley close? I don't know. I mean,
yeah,
the results Hader got, it's hard to say that, but the thought process was flip the script, get your guy that you can get outs. Tell Presley, hey man, we're going to give you the ball in the ninth. Like maybe that gives them that extra boost, that extra what he needs. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that would.
But that would have been something that you would have to discuss with your relievers prior to the game. Okay. That, the way this bullpen had always been set up was, back in the day, when in 2005, when I'm with the Yankees, you had Mariano pitch the 9th inning, and Tom Gordon, who had been a closer for the Red Sox prior to coming over, they kind of sold him on the idea of being the 8th inning closer. Okay. So that's how this bullpen was set up. It was Josh Hader in the 9th, Presley in the 8th, and then Abreu mixing and matching where you need him. And so, you would have to have that discussion beforehand just to make sure that you're not catching. And listen, you're talking about 2 veteran relievers. You should not catch them off guard, but you want to make sure you don't, especially in a situation that it's a do or die game like this. So I can remember there was a game in Oakland where I was playing for the Yankees. We had just got our butts beat in New York. We had to go back to Oakland, fly all night. We got in at 6 a.m, and we had to play that day. And Joe Torre came to me, it was after BP, before the game started. He said, "Hey, I know you like to hang out, hang out in the dugout, hang out in the clubhouse the first couple innings." He said, "But this was a Game 5 situation. I may have to go. I don't know what's going to happen, so I need you down there early." And I ended up coming in like the 2nd or 3rd inning and went 2 2/3, which I hadn't done that before. But that's the situation you're in. But that was Joe coming to me and saying, "Hey, let's keep an eye on what's going on, and you never know what's going to happen. And so that's something you would have to do. But listen, it was set up the way this bullpen was supposed to be set up. It just didn't work out. That's got nothing to do with Joe Espada. He pulled the trigger on the guys that were supposed to be in there. It was just unfortunately that Presley and Hader had a bad day.
Yeah, they picked the wrong day to have a bad day. But the offense picked a wrong day to not be effective. But then again, you got to tip your cap. Sometimes it's not the hitter, sometimes it is the pitcher. And you as a pitcher know that there are just those days where it just seems to click. An inevitable run. It seemed like that the Astros were going to be on again. And so my question to you is, after we talk about our sponsors real quick, is I want to ask you if you think this run is over. We are coming to you live from the Ram Shirts studios. You can get our shirts like we have on, back to the bullpen shirts, from ramshirts.com. Use the QR code to do that. They also have other shirts. I wore my Houston is Inevitable shirt, the golden era of baseball. That's by Ram Shirts. Mark does a great job designing. And then also, if you want to get your hair cut and you're in the Bay Area, Friendswood area, call my guy Ever. Go to state-of-the-art barbershop at 1616 South Friendswood Drive. Tell them back to the bullpen singing, you'll get 10% off your haircut. And we thank our sponsors today. So, Mike, the run has been all the talk.
Sure.
I posted a video on X or Twitter after the Royals sweep. And I thought that we had seen a seismic shift in what or a sign that this team was definitely going to say, you know what? We're going to put the women and children to bed. We're going to go looking for dinner, and we're going to get back to a dominant place in this league, right? And I said the run is not over. And I've got so many people right now, Yankees fans tweeting me, Rangers fans, they're having a blast. And I said, hey, you know what?
Sometimes you got to wear it.
Yeah. Oh, and trust me, I did. I said, I know why you're happy. You're happy because you don't have to play us in the playoffs this year, because we know how that ends. And the point one guy was making with me that I banter back with, we banter back and forth, friendly, shit talking each other. And he said, but he goes, the only thing that's inevitable in life is change. And he said the Astros need to get younger. They're getting older. So my question to you, with that being known, and do you think this Astros run is over? Is the golden era, is this the end of it? I
do not.
Okay.
I do not think so, because it's not like all the players that the Astros have, they're all going away. Okay, you have guys. Yes, there are some free agents. There's going to be some turnover. And listen, this is going to be a fascinating offseason, because there are some big questions that Jim Crane and Dana Brown that they have to answer. Okay, you have to figure out what you're going to do with Bregman. You have to. I think is Fromber a free agent, or is that next year?
Fromber is here for another year. I think.
Okay. Yeah, him and Tuck. So there's a lot of things you have to look at, and there may be some tough decisions that have to be made in personnel.
Right.
What is the payroll going to be? How much is Jim Crane going to be comfortable with paying whomever? There's a lot of questions. But when you look at the core of this team, by the way, their pitching staff, you're going to get, a few of your pitcher, they lost 60% of their rotation in like a day or two this season. You're going to get Luis Garcia back. You're going to get Jose Urquidy back.
Oh, yeah. You're
going to get Christian Javier back. So all these guys that they were missing, those guys are going to be back at some point next season. Lance McCullers Jr., we'll keep our fingers crossed. Maybe he's going to be, he'll be healthy next year. You still have Jordan. You still have Altuve. You still have Tucker. I mean, you still have a really good team. You still have Josh Hader as your closer. Presley has a mutual option for 2025, which means both the Astros and he would have to agree to terms.
Okay.
What happens there? I think he probably goes to free agency, if for no other reason, just to kick the tires and see what's out there. But you still got Abreu. You still have you still have many, many good players on this team. So to say that they're done,
Okay.
I think is a little premature.
Or pessimistic or emotional, or I'm just saying, I think there's a lot of people are like, yeah, it's done. We're done. I've been telling you we're done for all year. I told you. And it's so
Yeah.
funny. We love like shooting our wounded. It's like Wheelhouse, you've been so positive all year, and I just told you this is same crap, different day, and just going on and on and on. And I'm like, look, I'm just saying, if there was any team today that could have come back and win a third game, I think it was the Houston Astros, just because of what they've been through. And I was trying to find a specific tweet. I think I found it. The Astros, get this, they paid Verlander 14.3, Abreu 19.5, McCullers 17, Javier 12, Montero 11. He's gone. Graveman, Urquidy, McCormick, and Garcia 91.8 million for a combined minus 1.6 WAR. So you have a lot of money that went out the door with nothing in return. But like you said,
but that's the trials and tribulations
right,
this team went through.
right.
I mean, just about every one of those, not Montero, not Abreu, but all the rest of them. I mean, you have to go through the names again. It was all injuries.
Yeah.
You're
right.
And that's one of the things that this team had to deal with. And again, I mean, what we need to do at some point, we need to go through all the players that played for the Astros this year, because there's going to be a couple of guys that you're going to go, I don't really remember him. Or, oh, yeah, that's right. He played, 3 or 4 games, because that's how it had to work. You had to put a 26-man roster together. And there were times it seemed like the Astros were having a tough time doing that.
Yeah, no, exactly. And you had mentioned the starting pitchers. I mean, right here, think about all these names just to list them all at once. Valdez, Brown, McCullers, Garcia, Blanco, Arrighetti, Javier. I didn't even mention Kikuchi.
Mm-hmm.
Free agent. I would love for them to sign him. Mike, if
he made himself some money when he came to Houston.
He did.
There is no doubt. Team goes 9-1. He shoves for 10 straight starts, because even the one game that they lost, his last start, he still pitched extremely well. I think just gave up 1 unearned run in 6 innings. The Astros ended up losing the game, and so that was the one of the 9-1. But it's going to be interesting to see what kind of free agent. Are we going to have a free agency that, money is being thrown around willy-nilly, or is this going to be one of those free agencies that there's a lot of guys, come January, there's still a lot of guys on the market, prices start coming down. Is it going to be, we really don't know. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, as far as Kikuchi is concerned, that dude made himself some money when he put on the Astros uniform.
Yeah, because you could, I have someone on here proposing that they're like, you can pay Bregman 5 years for 130, or you can pay Kikuchi for 5 years for 130.
Okay, the problem you're going to have with Bregman and 5 years at 130, Matt Chapman just signed $150 million with the San Francisco Giants.
He did.
So I think that's the starting point. And Breggy, especially the second half that he had, he's got Scott Boras as his representative. I think they're going to be looking for well north of $200 million a year, or $200 million total.
Wow. It's insane, man. It's just like, man, you want to keep everybody here, but this is what's interesting. Jose Altuve, after the game, they were like, what do you think it's like maybe possibly playing with him in his last game in an Astros uniform? He goes, I'm not even going to talk about that, because as far as I know, Bregman's going to be here next year.
Right.
He goes, Bregman's meant so much to this organization. He's been here 9 years, and he deserves to get paid what he has earned. And then they were like, are you going to tell Jim Crane that? And he said, absolutely.
I don't doubt it in any way, shape, or form. I heard an interview by Jordan. Jordan was the same way.
Yeah.
Um,
They
you
are
know,
campaigning
and
for
listen,
their arms, right?
Bregman, I think another guy that drastically increased his value in the second half of this season. He started swinging the bat well. I think what you really saw, if Bregman's not at third base, and listen, we shouldn't even be having this conversation. This should be a conversation for about 3 or 4 weeks from now.
True.
But who's going to replace him? You're going to, in my opinion, and again, people need to understand, I have no inside information here. Okay, that's my disclaimer. This is just me inside my own crazy thoughts. Who's going to replace him? You're going to have to go to free agency anyways.
Yeah,
now, the side of it you look at, but going to free agency is one thing. Paying a guy $200 million is another. So, like I said, this is going to be a fascinating offseason for the Astros to see exactly what route they decide to go.
And Alex Bregman just tweeted, I think about 30 minutes ago, "Thank you, Houston."
That's it.
You're like,
well, he's going to free agent. He's going to be a free agent.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
The Astros do have a grace period that they could sign him, but Alex has been waiting for 9 years to do this.
He has.
Why would he now, just a couple weeks away from being a free agent, now he's going to sign an extension? There's only one way that happens: fair market value.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, you can't argue it that he has earned it. But the question then also, not only who do you replace him with, if you do pay him and you do give him the sum of money he wants, does that then cut the legs out from under a deal with Kyle Tucker? Because Kyle Tucker will be getting a lot. Now, I think if Kyle Tucker doesn't get injured and he continues to do what he was doing, I think he has a stellar year and continues to increase his value. But next year, everybody's going to be saying, "Okay, Tucker, we need a full season." And Jordan, how much is he going to play left field? But I want to kind of focus on just overall our thoughts on the season. And I kind of want to lead off with this because, Mike, there haven't been, we've seen this team typically take or have slow starts, but the slow start this year was extended by quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
And not only that, there were surprises at the beginning of the season, like Ronel Blanco. Ronel Blanco just burst onto the scene, 30 years old, who in their first start at 30 throws a no-hitter. Well, nobody but Ronel Blanco.
Right.
And then, like you mentioned earlier, Hunter Brown's struggling. He's the guy that's supposed to be, quote unquote, Justin Verlander 2.0. And then everybody's like, hey, send him down. And then, we got the Jose Abreu thing. There are just so many things where at one point, I really think I convinced myself, man, deep down, I don't know if this team is even going to get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
They never panicked. They never wavered. And Joe Espada said his faith helped bring him through the season. He said, I heard the noise. I heard the chatter. I heard the doubts. And that's got to be tough because, these guys are humans. And yeah. I think to round it off, you ultimately had your leaders, Jordan, Jose, Yiner stepped up real big. Dubon was huge. Singleton was huge this year. I mean, that guy, there were a lot of people, even I said at the beginning, how did this guy make the roster? And he every day just went out there and worked his ass off every single game, every single day. I think this season, like you said, I think this season in this division is probably the most rewarding division because of how you obtained it. Because this hasn't been done in like 100 years the way they did it. So I tip my cap to the Astros. We just ran out of steam. And I'm still wondering if all these long playoff runs over the years takes a toll even on your stars, and that if that rubs any on the energy of the other players. So,
well, I mean, that might be a silver lining to all this going into next season, that these guys, don't have shortened off seasons. Personally, I don't buy into that, but I understand the theory. I just don't buy into that theory.
Okay.
I was blessed enough to play in 11 straight postseasons, and I never thought, come July of next year, man, I could have just used that extra month in the off season. It's to me, it's more of a mindset than anything else. But I understand just the recovery time. That's one of the things Jordan's going to have to figure out. With what's going on with his knee. That
Yeah.
he said in his post game sound after tonight's game or today's game, he said that I think at this point that it just rest is what's going to be best. But I have to meet with the medical staff and the doctors, and we have to come up with a game plan. So there's a lot of bumps and bruises. Everybody has aches and pains, and the Astros will have a little bit more time this year than in previous years to heal up before spring training.
Exactly. I thought it was interesting that Mauricio Dubon said, "Yeah, Jordan Alvarez broke his knee," and I was like, "What? What? Is that a Freudian slip?" But Alex Bregman. They asked Alex Bregman, what like, what's the plan? What are you doing? He said, look, the offseason, it's all Scott Boras and my team. That's what I pay them for. It's not my worry.
Right.
We have a home here. My family loves it here. He goes, when I first came here, I wasn't married.
So he does have to figure out, he's got to figure out his elbow though.
He does have to figure out his elbow. Yeah. We almost forgot about it. I completely forgot about his elbow because he just kept playing through it. But Mike, I've watched this guy play since he was at LSU.
Mm-hmm.
I was in Louisiana the 2 years he was at LSU. So there's not been a single season. And since he's been from college until now that I haven't watched Alex Bregman play for the team that I cheer for. And for me to think of Alex Bregman in any other uniform other than Houston Astros uniform bothers me more than Springer and Correa combined. I just because of who he is and what he's done for this city.
Well, we don't need to start kicking dirt on his Astros career yet. Let's let
100%.
the offseason happen. Jim Crane and company, Dana Brown, they're going to have to figure out what road they want to take. They've got multiple directions they can go. But, Breggy has been a favorite for this team for a long time. He's been a heart and soul type player, and he had a very good season, especially the second half. So we'll keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things, this is a question I will allude to. Maybe we can answer this stuff. I know we're going to do another show this week. We haven't lined up the time and the date, but we're going to talk about the other series. And I will just say this: Jay Thunder asked about if we think the Tigers have the best shot to win the AL. I honestly think it's going to get tougher from here on out because they don't have any pitching outside of Scooble. They do have a bullpen, but they don't have true starters.
Right.
And I don't know how you bullpen a 7-game series. That seems like a tougher task, Mike.
Yeah, you can't do it. I mean, this was a perfect case scenario for them to win 2 games. You have to win 4 games. That is a big difference because your bullpen just can't handle that kind of stress, and you can't carry that many pitchers on your staff. So, I think that they are definitely a long shot. I know that there's teams out there that are pretty happy the Astros got knocked out, and I think the Yankees are definitely one of them.
Oh man, the Yankees! Wow, it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be fun to watch. I think the playoffs because I think there's going to be some exciting stuff. I've got to bring this comment up because this is just funny. This is a carryover from Locked On Astros. David, I always tell this guy that he has to be like, give me 4 positive comments before he gives me a negative. He brings up a stat that I know he didn't research. He says, I think we stranded like 6,876 base runners.
Sometimes it seems that way. Sometimes it seems that way.
If it was close to that, Dave, that's hilarious because
that seems a little exaggerated. But I understand the sentiment.
I think it's funny. I love it. But man, this has been a great show, Mike. Thank you for joining us, or thank you for being on the show again. I love having you on. I was talking to people at the stadium. They were like, someone hadn't heard of Back to the Bullpen. And I was like, oh, it's like, Mike Stanton. And I showed them your face from the show, and they're like, I know that guy from TV. So We were getting some brownie points because of your rugged good looks there. So
yeah, that's what we're gonna go with. Rugged good looks. Okay.
Well, I mean, maybe the 3 World Series rings means a little bit more than that, but
you know what? This offseason, maybe I'll break one out or break a couple out.
That would be awesome. I would love that.
I've got a few, so
yeah, I would. I mean, I'd like to see him. Let's go have breakfast sometime. All right, Mike. Well, hey, thank you so much, everybody. Thank y'all for tuning in. Over 200 of y'all watching us. Just be looking. Make sure your notification button is hit because we will come back here in the next few days. We're going to talk about the ALDS, the NLDS. Look, the Brewers actually won a playoff game.
Yeah, there's going to be a game tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't won a playoff game at home since like 1984 or something crazy. Right. So crazy things are happening. The Royals sweep the Orioles. Last I checked, what is the Braves game doing? Does anybody know?
Well, the Braves had come back. Give me a split second.
Oh, no, it's 5-4. The Braves are done. So
So the Braves came back to get close, but yeah. Well, you know what? The Braves pitching staff was in shambles.
It was.
When Sale went down with the back spasms, that really just kind of screwed the whole staff. And you know what? We saw the Padres just a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
That team is freaking legit. You know, hey, Yu Darvish has a low 3 ERA, and he didn't pitch. He didn't pitch in this series. So they still have that dude waiting on the side, for the next series. So the Braves.
I didn't know he was 38. He's 38.
I don't care what he was. He had a good year. He shoved.
That's amazing. Yeah. So we will definitely.
Oh yeah. We're
week.
Not just Astros fans. We're baseball fans. So we'll finish the season with you.
And I can't wait to talk about some Yankees playoff games because why? Mike Stanton has played in Yankee Stadium in playoff baseball, World Series baseball, and it will be good to hear your take on that. So for myself and everybody here from the Ram Church Studios, thank y'all for tuning in to another session and going back to the bullpen.
Adios.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, man, I ain't talking expense. Strike one, hit a low in the way, you can't hit it. You know you want to start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike two, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike three, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch it first. Tell me how they gonna drive